Doors to Savannah Guthrie's private estate are usually locked tight, but her mother Nancy just gave us a look inside. At 84, she revealed the one thing she found hidden in the mansion that explains Savannah's meteoric rise to fame. People are calling it a scandal, others call it a miracle, but either way, it is a total game changer. Forget the polished interviews and the designer clothes, the real story is what Nancy found in the shadows of that house. You need to see this to believe how deep this secret goes. It is not that simple though. Hidden altars and high-ceiling secrets. Beneath the dazzling studio lights of 30 Rock, Savannah Guthrie is the face America wakes up to every single day. She is polished, she is professional, and she seems like an open book to the millions who watch her. But recently, the internet caught fire with a headline that stopped everyone mid-scroll. It was a claim that her 84-year-old mother, Nancy, stumbled upon a shocking secret hidden within Savannah's private estate. What was actually behind those closed doors? It is time to pull back the curtain on the rumors and reveal the real story of the woman behind the desk. When you step inside the world of Savannah Guthrie, you aren't walking into a cold fortress of celebrity. Whether it is her sophisticated Tribeca apartment or her sprawling emerald green country estate in upstate New York, the discovery isn't about hidden vaults or scandalous artifacts. When Savannah's mother, Nancy, walks through those doors at 84 years old, what she finds is a curated testament to a life built on relentless work and deep-seated family values. These homes are grand, boasting the kind of high ceilings and expansive glass that $7 million buys you in Manhattan, but they are grounded by a very specific, lived-in warmth. The Upstate Retreat, a massive white clapboard farmhouse set on over 20 acres, is where the mansion myth meets the reality of motherhood. To the casual observer, it is an architectural dream. It has a chef's kitchen, a pool that mirrors the sky, and porches designed for long conversations. But for Nancy and Savannah, the real finds are the artifacts of a childhood in progress. You will find mud-caked boots by the door from Kids Vale and Charlie, half-finished art projects on the dining table, and the quiet hum of a household that prioritizes connection over perfection. It is a space where the high-pressure stakes of the Today Show desk are traded for the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of birds in the Hudson Valley. Nancy Guthrie doesn't find a museum, she finds the echoes of the same Tucson household where she raised Savannah, just with better square footage. There is a sense of continuity in these rooms. The mansion isn't a shield from the world, but a container for the things that matter most. It features wide-open communal spaces that reflect Savannah's personality. These rooms are bright, airy, and intellectual, yet entirely approachable. There are bookshelves filled not just with law journals and political biographies, but with well-loved children's stories and spiritual texts that Nancy herself likely introduced to her daughter decades ago. In the city, the mansion is a loft that serves as a tactical command center for a woman who wakes up at 3 in the morning. Even there, the reality is far from the tabloid headlines. The discovery is one of discipline. Nancy sees the rigorous preparation that goes into every interview, with folders and notes tucked away in elegant nooks. Yet, even in this high-end urban environment, the secret found within is the preservation of normalcy. There are photos of Savannah's late father, Charles, prominently displayed, ensuring that while the house is new and expensive, the foundation remains rooted in their shared history. What they found in the mansion isn't a headline. It's a home. It is the physical manifestation of a career that took a girl from Arizona to the pinnacle of American journalism. For an 84-year-old mother, the joy isn't in the marble countertops or the designer finishes, it's in seeing that her daughter has built a sanctuary that remains hospitable to the soul. The mansion serves as a reminder that you can reach the top of the mountain without losing the humility of the valley. It is a place of peace, prayer, and the occasional chaos of a family dinner, the ultimate discovery for any parent watching their child thrive. See, everyone's obsessed with the price tag, but the real secret is how she kept her soul intact. This is the deal. Savannah isn't just a news anchor, she is a woman holding on to a legacy that started in a much smaller house. What most people don't realize is that the most expensive thing in that mansion is a small, worn-out Bible. And that's putting it lightly, because it tells a story of a loss that nearly broke them both. But here's the catch. That loss happened under a sun much hotter than the lights of New York. Wait until you hear how a single afternoon in the desert changed their lives forever. Arizona dust and the empty chair. Tucson is where the foundation was laid, long before the bright lights of Studio 1A. When Savannah's mother, Nancy, looks at her daughter today, she sees the same scrappy, inquisitive girl who was shaped by the rugged landscape of the Southwest and a family dynamic that was as loving as it was resilient. It was a childhood defined by wide-open skies and a sense of possibility, but it was also the place where Savannah learned that life could change in an instant. Nancy Guthrie wasn't just a mother. She was a steadying force. In the Guthrie household, education and curiosity weren't just encouraged, they were the air everyone breathed. Savannah, along with her siblings, grew up in an environment where the dinner table was a place for debate and discussion. But the most defining moment of her early life came with the sudden, shattering loss of her father, Charles, who passed away when Savannah was only 16 years old. It is the kind of tragedy that can derail a teenager. But under Nancy's watchful and courageous eye, it became the crucible that forged Savannah's inner strength. The relationship between Nancy and Savannah blossomed in the wake of that loss. At 84, Nancy can look back and see how those years in Tucson were about survival and spirit. She had to navigate raising a headstrong, talented daughter while they both carried the weight of grief. It was during this time that Savannah's work ethic really started to show. She wasn't just a dreamer, she was a doer. Whether it was her schoolwork or her early interest in journalism, she tackled everything with a precision that Nancy recognized early on. There was a grit beneath the Tucson sun that never left her, a realization that time is precious and your voice is a gift. Growing up in Arizona also gave Savannah a certain Western sensibility, a lack of pretension that still defines her today. Even as she rose through the ranks of local news, she carried that Tucson dust on her shoes, figuratively speaking. Nancy was there for every milestone, watching her daughter transition from a local reporter to a legal powerhouse. The desert isn't known for being soft, and Savannah's upbringing reflected that. It was about being hardy, being honest, and being there for your community. Nancy ensured that despite the loss of the patriarch of the family, the Guthrie home remained a place of faith and intellectual rigor. The Tucson years were also where Savannah's spiritual life began to take root. Nancy has often spoken about the importance of faith in their family, and it was in those quiet, sun-baked mornings that Savannah began to develop the internal compass that guides her through the chaotic world of breaking news. For Nancy, watching Savannah navigate the world now is like watching the seeds she planted in the Arizona soil finally reach full bloom. The values were simple: tell the truth, work harder than the person next to you, and never forget where you came from. Even now, when they talk, the shorthand they share is rooted in those early Arizona days. It's the language of a mother who saw her daughter's potential before the rest of the world caught on. Tucson provided the quiet, the space, and the occasionally harsh reality that Savannah needed to build a thick skin. Nancy's influence wasn't about pushing for fame, it was about pushing for character. She wanted Savannah to be a woman of substance, someone who could stand in the wind and not be moved. As Savannah moved from Arizona to the East Coast, she didn't leave Tucson behind, she packed it up and took it with her, using it as a North Star whenever the industry got too loud or too superficial. Basically, she took the heat of the desert and turned it into a fire in her belly. Nobody expected this to happen, but that teenage girl was about to become the smartest person in any room she entered. But get this, her next move was a gamble that almost cost her everything she had built. Georgetown law and the power of the pivot. There is a version of history where Savannah Guthrie never becomes a household name in the news, but instead becomes a formidable litigator in a mahogany-paneled courtroom. For many people, a career in local television is the end goal, but Savannah has always been possessed by a certain restless intellectual hunger. After spending some time in the trenches of local news in Missouri and Arizona, she hit a wall. She felt like she was missing the why behind the story she was covering. With the encouragement of her mother Nancy, who always championed the idea that a woman should have as many tools in her belt as possible, Savannah made the audacious decision to pivot. She didn't just apply to any school, she headed straight for the pressure cooker of Georgetown University Law Center. This wasn't a half-hearted exploration. Savannah wasn't just trying out law, she was dominating it. At Georgetown, she wasn't the bubbly personality people see on morning television. She was a focused scholar who eventually graduated magna cum laude. She was the girl in the library until the early hours of the morning, fueled by coffee and the same grit she developed back in Tucson. Nancy remembers this period as one of intense sacrifice. Savannah was balancing a legal education while keeping one foot in the world of journalism, often working as a freelance reporter to keep her skills sharp. For Nancy, watching her daughter take on the rigorous demands of the law was a moment of immense pride. It confirmed what she had always known: Savannah had a legal mind that was analytical, precise, and skeptical of easy answers. The choice to pursue a law degree wasn't about leaving journalism, it was about elevating it. Savannah realized that to truly hold power to account, she needed to understand the rules of the game. She wanted to be the person who could read a Supreme Court brief as easily as a teleprompter. During her time at Georgetown, she didn't just learn about law, she learned how to construct an argument and, perhaps more importantly, how to deconstruct a lie. This period of her life was an intellectual marathon. While her peers were settling into their careers, Savannah was essentially starting over, proving she was more than just a talking head. After graduation, she didn't immediately run back to the newsroom. She took a job at a high-end law firm, specializing in white-collar criminal defense. For a while, it looked like the legal world had won. But the pull of the story was too strong. She eventually found a way to marry her two passions by becoming a legal correspondent for Court TV. This was the missing link. Suddenly, the girl from Tucson was the expert in the room. She could break down the most complex trials in the country with the authority of a lawyer and the clarity of a journalist. Nancy often remarks that this was the moment Savannah truly found her lane. She wasn't just reporting the news anymore, she was explaining the world. This detour into the law is exactly why Savannah is so effective today. When she sits across from a politician or a CEO, she isn't just asking questions from a script, she is conducting a cross-examination. That legal dana is woven into everything she does. It's the reason she can stay calm under the pressure of a live interview gone sideways. She knows how to find the smoking gun in a conversation. Nancy always says that the law degree gave Savannah a shield and a sword. But the courtroom was only a training ground for the ultimate arena. It was time for her to step onto the lawn of the most famous house in the world. So, here's the deal. She was about to face the most powerful people on earth, and she wasn't going to blink. Does a massive mansion provide more peace than a small desert home? Or is the secret to happiness something money simply cannot buy? Subscribe for more legendary stories. Like and comment below.